let us continue now with the book alert. Let me share my screen with you. Find it here. Okay, can you see the screen already?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So today we are going to start the chapter 9 from the book Alert by Joanna de Angelis, psychography of Divaldo Franco. Please do remember that we are recording our meetings in case you don't want your face and your name to appear. It's very easy to just to stop your camera and rename yourself. And so you can keep your privacy, okay? And we have been having very good feedback of people that not necessarily can attend, and they can in this way follow the studies later on during the day or the week. So the word and Jesus, I again brought it in the two languages, English and Portuguese, for those who prefer to read in Portuguese. The word, place it in the service of health, exercise an unimaginable therapeutic function, offering a long list of benefits. The utilization of verbs in a position way provides optimism and creates a renewable psyche, a sphere in which beings are nourished. When faced with the phenomenon of harmony, the edifying concept produces empathy and attracts beneficial factors, including the presence of joyous entities. They feel motivated towards an edifying exchange through which the mental cliches are enriched with new landscapes and the physio-psychic organization with beneficial stimulus. Words are instruments of life to adorn ideas and express them with clarity. Applied in an edifying manner, they raise the world, sustain thoughts, and enrich life with beauty. When speaking, Jesus structure in the minds and hearts of people the ideals of eternal life, whereby the facts and examples lived by him establish a corollary of his incomparable teachings. Please, especially Philip and Andrea, if you see something that needs still a touch in terms of, of the English, let me know later on so we can have the final editing of the text. So this is, as always, a very important lesson that Joanna de Angelis brings to us, and always start with bringing to us the topic that she has in mind to develop. In this case, she's going to talk about the use that we have or we make of the pronounced words, of the words we are going to be saying, and how they may not only impact ourselves, impact our health, but also impact and energy wise in the world, the atmosphere of energy that we live. It's very important that she's bringing that to mind, because this is not a matter necessarily of how we are going to be arranging the letters, because I can say a word that it would be commonly known as being a good word with a sentiment, with an intonation, with the emotion of something negative. So we are not talking per se only about the placing of the letters, but we are talking about the emotional content that pronouncing a certain word in whatever language we are speaking is what really matters. So we can say to someone, I love you, meaning nothing, meaning even I wish I would be able to say to you that I don't love you, but I hate you. Or I can say I love you, really meaning what the word actually provides. Why does it impact our health and our world? Because remember that passage that Jesus uh, even condemns the common expression that the Jewish people at the time used to employ, that was raka, is spitting on the side when they were somehow uh, discontent with someone's behavior. And he would say a simple raka that is almost like a habit. It was almost like a habit for the people at that time, has its emotional content and sends negative energy to the environment. Because words are just uttered through the through our thoughts. First, I have to think about something. And when I think, since thought is creation, thought is energy, and move about energies in the universe. So it also impacts ourselves. So, Chico Xavier used to say that when we wish someone's uh, bad, we are sending the copy and keeping the original with us. So I'm wishing something bad to you. I'm not even verbalizing necessarily that, but I'm already sending you only 50% of what I'm thinking in terms of energy, and retaining with me 100% of that negative emotion. So this is how it impacts us physically speaking. It impacts the good functioning of our cells, for instance. It impacts the kind of energy radiation that we are surrounding ourselves with, in the sense of attracting non-physical entities, companions, that will be also attracted due to the energy that is lingering around us. So as we see, maybe this is the reason why uh, more elevated spirits, they speak so little, they don't need that many words to try to explain what they want to say, and they're really cautious. And we have a saying in Brazil, I don't know if you have anything similar here in the US, that would be, in a shut mouth no fly can have access, something like that. So many times we talk too much, we expose ourselves to the invasion of, let's say, flies, that of course we don't want to be happening. Then she crowns this first part talking about Jesus, about uh, inviting us, because we are in a point of spiritual involvement, that we can already see beyond the words of Jesus. Why did he utilize that specific vernacular, that specific word? What did he have in mind uh, that made him choose that word and not another word? And we are talking about the originals. We are not even talking about the the translations. Even when we go to the original, so to say, mostly Hebrew or Greek or something that we have in Aramaic, We are talking about those words that Jesus used at the time. What kind of sentiments those words would be awakening when he utilized that in people? Because Jesus used words, verbs, adjectives, even articles, subjects with a specific connotation. Everything had a meaning to Jesus. When he said he went up the tree, went up meaning, not physically speaking, but spiritually speaking. So there's so much behind all that we have to take into consideration. And the question here is, what are we doing with our words today? Are they working in our favor, not bringing emotional imbalances associated with them that will compromise my physical, emotional, and spiritual health? Are they enticing to the approximation of more evolved non-physical entities, spirits, or they are inviting, more enticing to invite more inferior entities? Everything is our responsibility. And as we normally say here, I know it is the growing pains. I wish I didn't know that much. Okay, I wish I didn't have to have that much responsibility, even when I'm thinking about saying a word. But we are in this point in our immortal life that we have to own it, and that we have to be very careful with our free will, with everything that we are doing. So this is what Joanna de Angelis is saying here. Listen, till now you've been, like children that they speak their mind. Well, now not only we cannot speak our mind, but we have to train our mind not even to go there, because even by thoughts it can be damaging already. Comments, question? Yes, Andrea. You're
Yeah.
on mute.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I have a question that I think I got a little confused now after we read this chapter. So we know that when we think something negative and we, at the emission of any kind of rage or wrath, whatever, it stays inside. But now we're talking about the word, the speaking. So is there a difference between only thinking and then speaking, or is they speak, if we're going to speak evil, right, if we're going to do something that it's negative, because it actually says the positive words, and I know the power of the positive thought and the positive word, but if we only think the bad and then we say it, is it you have an A plus on evil doing, or is the same thing? Like after my short stint living in the South, you know how they say, bless your heart, and they mean something completely different. So, that came to my mind because, they smile, they hug you, and then they bless your heart, and everybody knows they are saying something that, completely the opposite. So how does that work? Is there a scale for just thinking and then not saying, or thinking negative and saying positive? I got a little confused. Sorry. I don't know if I'm even clear in
Oh,
my question.
that. Yes, you absolutely completely clear, and I think that's a wonderful question. And I don't know if I have the answer. Okay, I can just perhaps put two plus two, and try to, using reason to give you an answer. I do believe, Andrea, that it's not a matter of what we are saying, but what the emotions that come with that. I may not even say something like, I hate this person. I'm you know the uh, the way we have to behave on society doesn't allow me to say that. But it doesn't mean that the intensity of my thinking, the way I'm thinking and my thoughts are not as damaging. So perhaps I would say that the other way around may have less intensity, because when you vent and you just you burst something that has a certain emotion. Of course, it's not that good,
Yeah.
but then it's over. When you
Uh-huh.
bottled it down, it can even be more damaging, because it can be like a volcano building up inside of you, and it doesn't mean that the emotion that is there is not first affecting yourself and even affecting others. And remember, the spirits that associate with us, they do not associate with us because of our words, but
Yeah,
because
but
of
our thoughts.
our way, our thoughts, our way of being, our way of behavior. That implies, words as well, but it's something that it's from inside. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be my perspective on your question.
Yeah, because
Always, keeping it. Yeah, go ahead.
no. I said, when we, that this example of bless your heart, they are so nice that if you not, if you don't live there, if you don't understand the culture, you don't even understand that they are actually thinking something else. And but you receive the positive, because bless your heart and smiling, you think, oh my god, that's nice. um
Mhm.
but so, and then do they get a point for trying to be nice, but they actually thinking the opposite? So I like you, I believe the thought is much stronger. It's really what matters. But because this particular chapter talks about the words, right? So they speaking words, what's the weight? So that's why I was like, okay.
But I think that from our perspective, students of the spirituality, I would say that trying to reframe ourselves, it's already an extra point. Okay. But we cannot just say, tap our own shoulder and say, oh, good girl. You manage at least not to say it. But that's why when Jesus said, pay attention, because even like as you said, a commonplace expression that almost means nothing can also cause harm. But the harm starts from inside, evidently. So I think for us, from a material perspective, there is no other way than starting containing uh, the external display of those emotions. I would say that that would be the first step, because you're only going to do that when deep inside you already know that this is not good. So I already know it's not good. I'm already trying my best not to put out in the world, to verbalize. Now I have to deal with my inner beasts. So it, knowing that it doesn't mean that because I'm already behaving in one way from the outside, my inside is resolved and everything is good and I'm okay with the law of the universe. So as long as we know that, but then again, for those people who do not have this understanding, I would say that we will have some occasions that people that verbalize will be less damaging, like when we say a dog that barks but don't bite. There are people that don't bark, but they bite hard. And so that's, I think, what we have to keep in mind. Anything, anyone else?
It's very interesting because the word can impact the life of others really, really hard. Let's say if you see a child singing and you say, oh, your voice is so terrible, stop singing, that can bring to that child the belief that her voice is ugly, is terrible. She can uh, stop talking that much, not verbalizing everything she wants to talk anymore, not singing. So that's the kind of also the point in the precautions or the responsibility of what we are talking and saying to others. Because for us, we may making, let's say we are making joking and but the person who is receiving is getting hurt, and that can have a problem for the rest of their lives. And the person may don't remember why they believe that her voice is horrible, why I'm not talking anymore, and but they just, so I think the point is that responsibility and the thoughts, like Jusara said, is like it's the energy around us, is that those entities who comes, we don't see. It's really good lesson today, and it's really interesting. I remember when I was a little girl and my grandmother used to say, if we say something bad, she used to say, don't say that, because every time you say that bad word, you are calling that lady to come next to you. So now studying, you can see is those entities. It's really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? Okay, let's go on then. Modulating the words which he was the carrier, in this case Jesus, he imbued the listeners whom were never the same. When listening to him,
Can you share
no
the
one
text,
would.
Rosada? Sorry.
I'm sharing.
You are?
Yeah.
No, maybe, I don't know. All right. Sorry.
Okay. Modulating the words which Jesus was the carrier, he imbued the listeners whom were never the same. When listening to him, no one would be capable of forgetting him. When conversing with him, the ideals of human ennoblement that changed the course of history were, were being founded. By teaching the living pulpit of nature, he projected a light which cannot be extinguished and started the enlightenment of all the disciples evermore. He always used words to create imperishable human joy. I think it's here by teaching edge. Um, so here, Joanna de Angelis continue using the example of Jesus. Of course, the first thing that comes to mind is we are so far away from there, right? But we have to have an ideal. We have to have a model, and Jesus is this model, is this guide in our behavior. So by analyzing the impact of his conversation, for instance, when we talk about, we have been doing a special study uh, of the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount. One of the things that we see is that, first of all, Jesus didn't have any kind of speaker to talk to the multitude. Somehow, the projection of his inner emotions, his thoughts, reached these people in the sense that they were no longer hearing him with the physical ears, but with their souls. Because it was, of course, Jesus is capable of doing that. We are not. But in the same way, we feel the wave of energy that comes toward us. And this is what she's saying here. Everyone that would be in contact, in this case, talking about Jesus, but we have other examples in history, with people, even that may not be, of course, that is special, but that goes through your life, and sometimes not knowing how to analyze that, we say, I don't know, his tone of voice is always so calming. Every time I get close to this person, is like, I feel I feel so released. It's like, a personal healing. We have people in our lives like this, and we have the opposite as well, right? So we see that we try to equate, to give a reasonable explanation, but sometimes it's not in the tone of voice. It is not exactly in what the words the person is saying, but it's what is coming from the person that it matters. I normally tell people, when they have, quite so often people come and ask, oh, Susana, do you know this or that speaker? Do you like this person? Do you recommend this person? It's always very, very, very difficult to make this judgment. But I say, you know what? One thing that I never take into consideration when choosing or not to invite someone to give a talk or not, is not how well this person can speak. It's not how much this person knows, but it how this person makes us feel with the emotional release they give during the talk. This is what makes the difference. Because sometimes we may see orators that have all this ability to talk. They have a very good vocabulary. They know, the scriptures by heart. But when it comes to the energy, is like, when you're going to eat a food that has no salt or no seasoning, it doesn't taste that good. It doesn't stay with you. It's not something that you want to repeat because it lacks what Joanna de Angelis is talking about here in terms of Jesus. It lacks this projection of light, of sincerity. And this is what is very important in our day-to-day lives.
Susana, would
Any
that be
question?
charisma?
Yes.
Would that be the charisma of the person? That
Perhaps, Andrea, for a lack of better vocabulary or even expressing ourselves, this is what we use to say, oh, that person has charisma, because it means it impacts us somehow. And listen, it can be for the good or for the bad. Okay, you may have this energy that kind of hypnotizes the public doing something bad. That's what they said that Rasputin had, that
yes, Hitler.
Hitler had,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
super
that
charismatic.
you would be electrified when those people talk, not only because they are assertive, okay, but it's because of the they are really expressing their ideals. Everyone that express their ideals, be them good or bad, they will tend to be charismatic, I would say. Of course, our goal is to look for the good ones, or at least for the ones that are doing an effort, like Kardec says, to overcome their negative inclinations. But I would say that perhaps this would be the vocabulary that we have to uh, denominate what we are trying to say here.
Sarah, I have some.
Anything?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think of how many people in the past have come to this planet, and I, I'm thinking of leaders like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, who spoke with elegancy and helping unite people together. I mean, they were profound and expressing their understanding of people being together. Nothing like we can't compare to Christ, no, not Jesus, but there was these people that came and spoke with so much elegancy and so much feelings for the people and uniting and helping. And I'm thinking of what you just read, and they project, like it says here, light and
Yeah.
goodness to everyone out there in life.
Yeah, but you see, you are giving examples of people that were idealists. Even now that when you were talking about Gandhi and making a reference to this lesson from Joanna de Angelis, it came to my mind that example for his life. That is a very simple example, but it talks about the responsibility we have to have with our words. It is the case of that mother that went to Gandhi and asked Gandhi to tell her son not to eat that much sugar because it would be damaging to his health. And he said, come back in a month.
Mm,
And the mother did not understood why she had to wait that long. And I mean, it was not that it was that easy, I guess, even at that point, to get closer to the Gandhi and to have a one-on-one on him. But then she did as he told her. She got back, went there, and then Gandhi tells the boy, please, boy, do not eat sugar. It's bad for your health. And that's it. He shut his mouth. And then she said, why did I have to wait a month for you, I come back for you to come to say that to my boy? Because a month ago I was still consuming sugar myself. So you see, this is what Joanna de Angelis is talking about here. Us having the responsibility of everything that we are saying, of everything that we are, giving advice in this case, and being true to our words.
right.
And I think this is what those representatives that you mentioned, they were filled with this ideal, especially because they were not even individual ideals. They were
Right.
thinking about a community. They were thinking about ideals that would change the course of humanity in terms of freedom, in terms of liberation, in terms of respect, in terms of the practicing a non-violent practice like Gandhi used to put it together about equality. So that's it's beautiful what they did. Okay, let's go a bit more. With energy or sweetness, in gentle serenity or grave admonition, Jesus' usage of verbs was always put into service of goodness and peace. Mary of Magdala, tormented by cruel obsessors, freed herself from the disturbance to which she was cast under by the salutary magnetism of his usage of verbs. Thus, she was rid of spiritual attachments. Simon Peter, periodically influenced by pernicious mind of the inferior spiritual world, found the therapy of liberation in his words. They affected Simon Peter to such a degree that he became able to offer himself integrally to the ministry of the doctrine that made him the great martyr of the gospel. The gathering, visibly possessed, left the shadows of alienation and returned to the clarity of reason when encountering his voice. Lazarus recovered from the deep trance of catalepsy when answering his energetic call. A troubled and contumacious discarnate, persisting in unhappy action, fell silent in the middle of the synagogue, where he desired to create commotion when reprimanded by his severe word. And speaking on the mount, Jesus composed the supreme code of love, never equaled, and that will never be surpassed. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Beautiful, true. And I mean, when we think about it, when we think about the demons that Mary of Magdala had to do herself, when we think about the uh, intempestivity, how do I say that? Uh, how uh, he was Simon Peter was like, he spoke his mind. He was like rough on the edge, and with the living closely with Jesus, little by little he started becoming more uh, uh, tender towards his companions.
Calmer.
He's yes, calmer and warm. And we see to the point that when there was a time that James and Paul of Tarsus were in the verge of getting into a very difficult confrontation, it was the reasonable mind and the temperance of Simon Peter that put an end to all of that. So uh, Jesus' voice at the same time that it could heal, it was a command. And the cases of Lazarus. Lazarus was supposedly dead for 4 days. This spirit that started creating this commotion in the synagogue came to, and so Jesus showed the voice of love, but a voice that commands at the same time. So that's all those are examples for us to start thinking about uh, our way of placing ourselves in the world or expressing ourselves in the world. Any more comment or question here on this part? Okay, so the last part here. Make use of words with the goal to inspire joyous images. What you say and how you say it will create mental cliches and result in thought waves producing outcomes according to the emotional intensity in which you adorn the verbal expression. They will favor or displease the person whom you are addressing, making yourself responsible. Make words a vehicle of hope, peace, health, and kindness. There are too many words applied with the acidity of criticism, with the bitterness of envy and pessimism, and with the flame of hate, thus producing evil. Let your words be of an abundance of life, which is an expression that commonly those spirits like to employ, the abundance of life, meaning in a very poetic way. We see here how Joanna de Angelis is expressed, her thoughts in a very poetic and classic way of putting the words which makes them even more powerful and beautiful, I think. But then she comes to us, as always, bringing the last, the conclusion of everything that she's saying. Now it's your part. What can you do? This is what we are talking about. This is, examples. They are here, examples to motivate you, to lead us to think about, to reason about all those things. And now it's how you can do it. And how you can do it is what you have in this paragraph. Try not to create mental cliches because, keep on having fixed thoughts that will produce and will make it, the thought waves, even more powerful than they already are. Because, if I'm feeling the same emotions, the same thoughts every day, oh, don't doubt it, it's going to happen. I say that one of the greatest benefits that we have at this point in time, considering our human evolution, is to take our thoughts for granted. Because if we knew truly the power of our thoughts, that could be a blessing, but could be a disaster as well. So thank God we lack discipline for the bad thoughts, for the bad energies that we are sending in the world. Something else will come and will distract us. Okay? And since the words express our emotions, our feelings, what are the emotions that she's inviting us to have here? Hope, peace, health, kindness. Again, every time, it's so hard when we have to deal in the day-to-day basis with people that are even difficult. But we have to think about each of them, their history individually. We don't know about people's lives. We don't know why they sometimes may react like, lions that have a thorn on their paws. They just don't react like that out of nothing. There is hurt. There is hate sometimes. There is, and that we somehow have to help to deal with them. Even today, I was talking to a friend because I witnessed someone that was, let's say, from the outside, you could say almost justifiedly admonished, like Joanna de Angelis tells here. But if you know the person, and I mean, it's someone that can really makes you lose your patience, not out of ill will, but because the person has so much limitations, have gone through so much pain. But if you just look at those particular actions, maybe your reaction would be the same. While someone that would know the facts would feel like going there and hugging her. So we have to think about it. We are too fast in judging, in verbalizing our discontent with this or that person, in criticizing without giving a chance or have any kind of understanding or even compassion. And so that's why she invites us here to, if you don't have anything good to say, just shut your mouth and try to say just things that is going to inspire happy thoughts. Like, for instance, now with everything that we are going through in the world, we could be here just talking about, the hurdles each one of us are living. Because believe me, everyone is going through stuff right now. Some can maybe worse than others, maybe more difficult than others, but everyone is having their share of burdens to deal with. But then it would put us just in a mood of, almost like giving up, losing hope. Yesterday I was hearing a talk that the person was saying, oh no, also, this, how so easily we pass judgment in saying, no, this is what is going to change humanity. And then he was saying, we had the Spanish fever that killed, they say, more or less 50 million people in the beginning of the 20th century. Nothing changed. Now we have a virus that has killed approximately 1 million, not 50 million, and even considering the proportion in terms of, a life is always a life, but the proportion in terms of citizens that we have in the world. Things are not going to change from the outside if we don't change from the inside. So now it is our responsibility to, instead of engaging in detrimental conversation, to try to bring something positive. Because we know that after the storm, there will be a sunny day. After the night, the dawn is going to break the night. And we have no right to do that with us and to do that with others, to make them lose hope and faith, to believe that God is not in command and that things are happening with the clear deliberation of harming us. This is not what is happening. This is part of the organism that we call planet Earth, that belongs to the universe. It goes through all those things. And hopefully, in times of prosperity and in times of difficulties, we will keep on accomplishing our spiritual betterment. Okay. Anyone would like to say anything else or to make any final comment? Any question? Anyone feeling like saying, ay, 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 Joanna de Angelis, why do you have to do that with us all the time? You know how hard it is. You've been through that already. So are you listening to us, Joanna?
Yeah.
Okay, so if no one else wants to say anything, I will ask Zoraida to do the final prayer to us.
Absolutely. To our Father, our teacher, our Christ, the spiritual benefactors, and to our dear Joanna de Angelis, our hearts full of gratitude, we thank you. As we come to the end of this meeting, of so much understanding of using words in our lives to remember that words of love and peace and kindness are what we need now, and especially what we're going through now at this time of so much work and understanding. So let's use what Joanna de Angelis is giving us to think, to understand, and to give all that we can give, but with peace and kindness always. We ask the Lord that we continue throughout the week with our prayers for all of us going through times of hardship, but to understand it is good. We have to understand where this is coming from. It is to grow, to mature, and to follow Jesus' footsteps. Always remember that we are never, never alone. So let's have strength and courage and faith in our hearts to continue working through our Christ's light and peace. May all those that are in need receive our prayers of peace and of love. We thank you, dear Lord, and allow us to continue throughout the week to grow and understand. We thank you, dear Lord, and with that in mind, we ask permission to close this meeting today. So be it.